The Lloyd George ministry, a coalition government led by David Lloyd George, came to power in the United Kingdom in December 1916. It replaced the earlier wartime coalition under H. Asquith, which had been held responsible for losses during the Great War. Those Liberals who continued to support Asquith served as the official opposition. The government continued in power after the end of the war in 1918, though Lloyd George was increasingly reliant on the Conservatives for support. After several scandals including allegations of the sale of honours, the Conservatives withdrew their support after a meeting at the Carlton Club in 1922, and Andrew Bonar Law formed a government. Cabinets. War Cabinet, December 1916 – January 1919. Lord Curzon of Kedleston, Lord President of the Council and Leader of the House of Lords. Andrew Bonar Law, Chancellor of the Exchequer and Leader of the House of Commons. Arthur Henderson, Minister without portfolio. Lord Milner, Minister without portfolio. Changes May, August 1917. In temporary absence of Arthur Henderson, George Barnes, Minister of Pensions, acts as a member of the War Cabinet. June 1917. Jan Smuts enters the War Cabinet as a minister without portfolio. July 1917. Sir Edward Carson enters the War Cabinet as a minister without portfolio. August 1917. George Barnes succeeds Arthur Henderson as minister without portfolio and Labour Party member of the War Cabinet. January 1918. Carson resigns and is not replaced. April 1918. Austen Chamberlain succeeds Lord Milner as Minister without portfolio. January 1919. Law becomes Lord Privy Seal, remaining Leader of the House of Commons, and is succeeded as Chancellor of the Exchequer by Chamberlain, both remaining in the War Cabinet. Smuts is succeeded by Sir Eric Geddes as Minister without portfolio. Peacetime Cabinet, January 1919 – October 1922. The War Cabinet was formally maintained for much of 1919, but as Lloyd George was out of the country for many months, this made little difference. In October 1919 a formal cabinet was reinstated. David Lloyd George Prime Minister, Lord Birkenhead, Lord Chancellor, Lord Curzon of Kedleston, Lord President of the Council and Leader of the House of Lords, Andrew Bonar Law, Lord Privy Seal and Leader of the House of Commons, Austen Chamberlain, Chancellor of the Exchequer, Edward Short, Secretary of State for the Home Department, Arthur Balfour, Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs, Lord Milner, Secretary of State for the Colonies, Winston Churchill, Secretary of State for War and Air, Edwin Samuel Montagu, Secretary of State for India, Walter Hume Long, First Lord of the Admiralty, Sir Albert Stanley, President of the Board of Trade, Robert Monroe, Secretary for Scotland, James Ian Macpherson, Chief Secretary for Ireland, Lord French, Lord Lieutenant of Ireland, Christopher Addison, President of the Local Government Board, Roland Edmund Prothero, President of the Board of Agriculture, Herbert Fisher, President of the Board of Education, Lord Imberforth, Minister of Munitions, Sir Robert Horne, Minister of Labour, George Nicol Barnes, Minister without portfolio, Sir Eric Geddes, Minister without portfolio. Changes May 1919. Sir Auckland Geddes succeeds Sir Albert Stanley as President of the Board of Trade. Sir Eric Geddes becomes Minister of Transport. October 1919. Lord Curzon of Kedleston succeeds Balfour as Foreign Secretary. Balfour succeeds Curzon as Lord President. The Local Government Board is abolished. Christopher Addison becomes Minister of Health. The Board of Agriculture is abolished. Lord Lee of Fareham becomes Minister of Agriculture. Sir Eric Geddes becomes Minister of Transport. January 1920. George Barnes leaves the Cabinet. March 1920. Sir Robert Horne succeeds Sir Auckland Geddes as President of the Board of Trade. Thomas James McNamara succeeds Horne as Minister of Labour. April 1920. Sir Hamer Greenwood succeeds Ian Macpherson as Chief Secretary for Ireland. Sir Laming Worthington Evans joins the cabinet as minister without portfolio. February 1921 Winston Churchill succeeds Lord Milner as colonial secretary. Sir Laming Worthington Evans succeeds Churchill as war secretary. Lord Lee of Fareham succeeds Walter Long at the Admiralty. Sir Arthur Griffith Boscawen succeeds Lee as Minister of Agriculture. March 1921 Austen Chamberlain succeeds Bonelaw as Lord Privy Seal and Leader of the Commons. Sir Robert Horne succeeds Chamberlain at the Exchequer. Stanley Baldwin succeeds Horne at the Board of Trade. April 1921 Lord French resigns from the cabinet, remaining Lord Lieutenant. Christopher Addison becomes a minister without portfolio. Sir Alfred Mond succeeds him as Minister of Health. The Ministry of Munitions is abolished. November 1921 Sir Eric Geddes resigns from the cabinet. His successor as Minister of Transport is not in the cabinet. The Attorney General, Sir Gordon Hewitt, enters the cabinet. March 1922 Lord Peel succeeds Edwin Montagu as India Secretary. April 1922 The first Commissioner of Works, Lord Crawford, enters the cabinet. List of ministers. Members of the cabinet are listed in boldface. Members of the War Cabinet, the 6th of December 1916 to the 31st of October 1919, are indicated.